1912, Stockholm Olympics. On July 14, 1912, Portuguese marathon runner Francisco Lazaro lined up in Stockholm for what would become the deadliest marathon in Olympic history. The 21-year-old carpenter from Porto had trained in Portugal's moderate climate. At 1:45 p.m., temperatures reached 90 degrees Fahrenheit with oppressive humidity, making the 26-mile course a furnace of asphalt and dust. Before the race, Lazaro made a fatal decision. To protect himself from sunburn, he covered his entire body with a thick layer of beef fat and wax, creating what he believed would be protective coating against the sun's rays. Instead, he had sealed his skin in a waterproof barrier that would prevent his body from cooling through perspiration. As the 69 runners began the marathon, Lazaro started conservatively, running alongside competitors from Sweden, Finland, and South Africa. The early miles passed without incident, but as runners moved through the Swedish countryside, the sun climbed higher and temperatures continued rising. By halfway, several runners had collapsed from heat exhaustion and been pulled from the course. Lazaro continued despite showing early signs of distress. His breathing became labored and sweat accumulated beneath the waxy coating, unable to evaporate and cool his body. At the 18.6 miles, witnesses reported that Lazaro was staggering and appeared confused, classic symptoms of heat stroke. His core body temperature was rising dangerously as his cooling system failed completely. With just 5 miles remaining, Lazaro collapsed suddenly on the dusty road near Södertälje. Spectators rushed to his aid, finding him unconscious and burning with fever. His skin was pale and clammy beneath the melted wax coating. Swedish medical personnel transported him to Seraphima Hospital in Stockholm, where doctors worked frantically to lower his body temperature. Despite their efforts, Lazaro never regained consciousness. He died the following morning from heat stroke and dehydration, becoming the first athlete to die during Olympic competition. His death led to new safety protocols for marathon races, including mandatory water stations and temperature monitoring. 2010 Vancouver Olympics. On February 12, 2010, Georgian luger Nodar Kumaritashvili was making his final practice run on the Whistler Sliding Center track just hours before the Vancouver Winter Olympics opening ceremony. The 21-year-old athlete had trained his entire life for this moment, following his father and uncle, who had both represented Georgia in luge. The Whistler track was notorious as the fastest and most dangerous in the world, with speeds regularly exceeding 93 miles per hour on its 4,480-foot course. During training weeks, several athletes had crashed, raising safety concerns. Italian luger Armin Sögler had publicly criticized the track's design, calling it too fast and dangerous. Romanian racer Violeta Stramatura had suffered a concussion after losing control, and several others had experienced crashes that damaged their equipment. At 4:44 p.m., Kumaritashvili began his run from the men's start position, lying on his back on the small sled as he accelerated down the icy track. The first several turns passed normally as his speed increased. By the track's most challenging section, he was traveling at approximately 90 miles per hour, well within normal range for experienced lugers. As Kumaritashvili approached turn 15, known as 50-50, something went wrong with his steering. Video analysis showed his sled began drifting slightly left toward the outer wall. He attempted to correct by applying pressure with his right leg, but the adjustment came too late and was too aggressive. His sled suddenly shot up the banking of turn 16, launching him into the air like a projectile. He was thrown from the sled at over 87 miles per hour, flying several yards before striking a steel support pillar holding timing equipment. The impact was horrific, causing massive trauma to his head and chest. Medical personnel reached him within minutes and attempted CPR, but the injuries were unsurvivable. He was pronounced dead at Whistler Healthcare Center at 5:50 p.m., just hours before the opening ceremony. Track modifications were immediately implemented, including higher walls and padding around steel supports. 1992 Albertville Winter Olympics. On February 22, 1992, Swiss speed skier Nicolas Boccheté was preparing for a routine training run at Val d'Isère during the Albertville Winter Olympics. The 27-year-old athlete was in France for a demonstration event showcasing speed skiing, where skiers reach speeds exceeding 125 miles per hour. Boccheté was experienced, but not among the sport's elite competitors. On this morning, Boccheté decided to take a casual recreational ski run on regular slopes, away from the speed skiing course. He wasn't wearing specialized speed skiing equipment, instead using standard alpine gear for what was meant to be a relaxing warm-up. Weather conditions were good, with clear skies and well-groomed slopes. At approximately 10:30 a.m., Boccheté was skiing down an intermediate slope when he encountered an unexpected obstacle. A snow grooming machine was working on the slope to maintain snow conditions. These massive vehicles, weighing several tons with powerful engines and wide tracks, are commonly used to prepare and maintain slopes. What happened next remains partially unclear, but witnesses reported that Boccheté appeared to lose control or misjudge his line as he approached the grooming machine. Whether due to momentary lapse in concentration, equipment malfunction, or miscalculation, he was unable to avoid the massive vehicle. At his traveling speed, even on an intermediate slope, there was no time for evasive maneuvers once he realized the danger. Boccheté collided with the rear of the snow grooming machine with tremendous force, suffering massive traumatic injuries that proved immediately fatal. The impact was so severe that survival was impossible, despite immediate response from resort personnel and medical teams. His death sent shockwaves through the Olympic community and speed skiing world, leading to increased safety protocols for demonstration events and stricter guidelines for athlete and resort operations interaction during Olympic Games. 1960 Rome Olympics. On August 26, 1960, Danish cyclist Knud Enemark Jensen lined up for the 62-kilometer team time trial at the Rome Olympics, unaware he was about to become the first athlete to die from drug use during Olympic competition. The 23-year-old was part of Denmark's four-man cycling team, competing in the grueling road race under scorching Italian sun, with temperatures reaching 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Jensen had been taking Roniacol, a blood circulation stimulant legal at the time, but later banned due to dangerous side effects, especially when combined with extreme exertion and heat. The medication was commonly used by endurance athletes who believed it improved performance by increasing blood flow, but its effects in hot conditions were poorly understood. At 2 p.m., the Danish team began racing from Tivoli to Caracalla, with Jensen taking his turn at the front as they battled oppressive heat and the challenging course through Roman countryside. The team time trial required all four cyclists to work together, maintaining high speeds throughout the 62-kilometer distance. For the first hour, Jensen appeared to handle conditions well, rotating through the peloton and maintaining the rapid tempo necessary for Olympic competition. However, as the race progressed and afternoon heat intensified, Jensen began showing distress that teammates initially attributed to normal racing fatigue. His pedaling became less smooth, and he struggled to maintain position. By the 54-mile mark, Jensen was clearly in trouble. His teammates noticed he was weaving slightly and seemed disoriented, but encouraged him to continue, rather than recognizing developing medical emergency signs. With 5 miles remaining, Jensen suddenly collapsed while riding, falling from his bicycle onto hot asphalt. His teammates and race officials immediately stopped to assist, finding him unconscious with severe heat stroke signs. His body temperature was dangerously high, breathing labored and irregular. Italian medical personnel transported Jensen to a Rome hospital, where doctors worked to lower his body temperature and stabilize his condition. Despite their efforts, Jensen died several hours later from heat stroke exacerbated by the circulation stimulant. The autopsy revealed that roniacol, extreme heat, and intense exertion had overwhelmed his body's temperature regulation ability, leading to the first serious Olympic drug testing discussions. 1964 Innsbruck Winter Olympics. On January 25, 1964, Australian alpine skier Ross Milne was training on the downhill course at Pachacofel Mountain above Innsbruck, preparing for the Winter Olympics beginning in days. The 19-year-old from Sydney was one of Australia's most promising young skiers, representing his country despite limited access to world-class training conditions at home. Milne had arrived weeks early to acclimatise to European slopes and study the Olympic downhill course. The Pachacofel downhill was notorious for its technical difficulty, featuring a vertical drop of over 2,850 feet and sections where skiers routinely exceeded 81 miles per hour. During training, Milne skied at racing speed through the upper section when he encountered a challenging sequence of turns. Snow conditions were firm and fast, typical for elite downhill racing, but unforgiving for error. As Milne approached a sharp left-hand turn at high speed, something went wrong with either his equipment or technique, causing him to lose control. Once a skier loses stability at high speeds, recovery becomes nearly impossible. Video footage showed Milne attempting to regain control as his skis drifted wide of the racing line. Fighting to stabilize, he was carried off the course into trees bordering the slope. At an estimated 62 miles per hour, the impact with trees was catastrophic. Ski patrol reached him within minutes, but survival was impossible. His death led to updated safety requirements, wider buffer zones, more protective barriers, and stricter course inspections. Athens 2004 and Rio 2016. Olympic venue construction has claimed numerous lives, but Athens 2004 and Rio 2016 stand out for their tragic worker tolls. In Athens, construction delays forced workers into dangerous conditions. On March 15, 2004, 45-year-old Demetrios Antonopoulos was working on the Olympic Stadium roof when safety cables failed. He fell 100 feet to his death while installing lighting equipment. Workers often endured 16-hour shifts, and compromised safety was common. Another worker, 38-year-old crane operator Nikos Georgiou, died when his crane collapsed, lifting steel beams on June 2, 2004. At least 4 workers died constructing Athens Olympic venues. Rio was even deadlier, with at least 11 construction-related deaths. On March 27, 2013, Anderson da Silva Santos was killed when a crane collapsed in high winds. In April 2014, 2 workers, Fabio Luis Pereira and Ronaldo Oliveira dos Santos, died when a stadium roof section collapsed. In 2016, an elevated cycling path collapsed into the ocean, killing 2 people. Investigations revealed design flaws, substandard materials, and schedule pressure. These tragedies highlighted the human cost of hosting Olympic Games.